The full moon hung low over Boulder, Colorado, casting a silver glow that made the suburban street feel like a stage for secrets. Elliot Harper, 26, stood frozen on his porch, clutching a grocery bag, as his new neighbor, Rowan Kane, 28, stared at him with eyes that glinted like polished emeralds under the lunar light. Something about Rowan's gaze too intense, too knowing made Elliot's heart stutter, as if the night itself had whispered, "You're not ready for what's coming." Elliot had moved to this quiet neighborhood to escape the chaos of Denver's city life, craving a fresh start after a messy breakup. His modest one-story house, with its overgrown garden and chipped paint, was a fixer-upper he'd bought on impulse. But nothing could have prepared him for Rowan, who'd shown up 3 weeks ago in the house next door. All lean muscle, silver-streaked hair, and a smile that felt like a promise and a warning rolled into one. That first night, Rowan had knocked on Elliot's door with a woven friendship bracelet dangling from his fingers. "A housewarming gift," he'd said, his voice low and warm, like a campfire crackling. Elliot had laughed, assuming it was a quirky neighbor thing. But the way Rowan's eyes lingered on him as he tied the bracelet around Elliot's wrist felt territorial. Now, standing on his porch under the moon's watchful eye, Elliot noticed the bracelet again, its threads glinting faintly, and wondered why Rowan kept giving him more 3 in total, each one more intricate than the last. "Elliot, you dropped your keys," Rowan called from his own porch, his voice cutting through the night. He crossed the lawn in 3 easy strides, his boots crunching on the gravel. Up close, Rowan smelled like pine and something wilder, like earth after a storm. He held out the keys, but his fingers brushed Elliot's hand, lingering just a second too long. "Thanks," Elliot mumbled, his cheeks warming. He wasn't used to this attention that felt like it could unravel him. "You're up late." "Moon keeps me awake," Rowan said, glancing skyward. His smile was crooked, almost secretive. "You should come over sometime. I'll make a mean campfire stew." Elliot laughed, nervous. "You inviting me to a cookout or a cult ritual?" Rowan's grin widened, showing a hint of sharp canines. "Guess you'll find out." Over the next week, Elliot couldn't shake the feeling that Rowan was watching him. Not in a creepy way, but in a way that made his pulse race like Rowan was memorizing him. At the local coffee shop, Rowan would appear out of nowhere, sliding into the seat across from Elliot with a latte and another bracelet. "This one's for luck," he'd say. Or, "This one's for protection." Elliot, flustered but charmed, would accept them, tying them onto his wrist until it looked like a bohemian art project. But strange things started happening. At night, Elliot heard Hounslow, mournful sounds that seemed to come from the woods behind their houses. His trash cans were knocked over, claw marks etched into the plastic. And once, when he'd left his window open, he found a single, coarse silver hair on his pillow, glinting like a warning. One evening, Elliot caught Rowan in his backyard, crouched near the fence, his hands buried in the dirt. "What the hell are you doing?" Elliot asked, half laughing, half alarmed. Rowan stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Planting sage. Keeps bad things away." His eyes flicked to Elliot's wrist, where the bracelets dangled. "You're wearing them all." Elliot flushed. "Yeah, well, they're kinda cool." Rowan stepped closer, his voice dropping. "They're more than that. They're a promise." Elliot's breath hitched. A promise of what? Rowan didn't answer, just smiled that cryptic smile and walked back to his house, leaving Elliot with a racing heart and 1,000 questions. The tension built like a storm. Elliot started noticing things about Rowan that didn't add up. He never seemed to sleep. He avoided direct sunlight, always wearing long sleeves despite the warm September days. And once, during a neighborhood barbecue, when a kid accidentally cut his finger, Rowan's eyes had flashed with something primal before he excused himself and vanished for the rest of the night. Elliot's best friend, Marisol, a 29-year-old barista with a knack for sniffing out drama, was the first to call it. "He's weird, she said over beers at their favorite dive bar. "Hot," But weird. Those bracelets. It's like he's marking you. Marking me. Elliot scoffed, but his stomach twisted. He's just friendly. Friendly people don't stare at you like your dinner. Marisol shot back. And those howls. I bet he's got a dog he's not telling you about. Or worse. Elliot laughed it off, but doubt not at him. That night, he Googled friendship bracelets meaning and stumbled across folklore about werewolves using woven tokens to claim their mates. His laughter turned to unease. Werewolves. In Boulder. It was ridiculous, but the claw marks, the howls, Rowan's eyes, they all fit. The breaking point came on a Friday night. Under another full moon. Elliot was in his kitchen, chopping vegetables for a late dinner, when a low growl rattled his window. He dropped the knife, heart pounding, and peered outside. Rowan stood in the backyard, shirtless, his skin glowing under the moonlight. His eyes were wild, almost glowing, and his hands were clenched into fists. Rowan, Elliot called, stepping onto the porch. You okay? Rowan's head snapped toward him, and for a moment, Elliot swore his teeth were sharper, his body trembling with some inner struggle. Stay inside, Rowan growled, his voice barely human. Please. But Elliot, stubborn and curious, stepped closer. What's going on? You're scaring me. Rowan's eyes softened, but his body shook harder. I don't want to hurt you, he whispered. But I can't. I can't stop it. Before Elliot could respond, Rowan bolted into the woods, his silhouette blurring into something impossibly fast. Against his better judgment, Elliot followed, the bracelets on his wrist feeling heavier with every step. The woods were a maze of shadows and moonlight. Elliot's sneakers slipped on pine needles as he chased the sound of snapping twigs. His breath came in sharp gasps, fear and adrenaline warring with the strange pull he felt toward Rowan. He found him in a clearing, crouched low, his body rippling with unnatural energy. Fur sprouted along his arms, his face elongating into something both beautiful and terrifying. Rowan, Elliot shouted, his voice cracking. Rowan's head whipped around, his eyes locking onto Elliot's. You shouldn't be here, he snarled, but there was pain in his voice, like he was fighting himself. I'm not safe. Elliot's heart thundered, but he didn't run. Tell me what's happening. Please. Rowan's body shuddered, and he collapsed to his knees, the transformation halting. I'm a werewolf, he said, his voice raw. Born, not bitten. The bracelets, they're not just gifts. They're a claim. My kind, we mark those we care about. To protect them. To keep them close. Elliot's mind reeled. You're saying, you're in love with me. Rowan's laugh was bitter. It's more than that. It's instinct. Fate. But I didn't want to scare you. I thought if I could just be your friend, I could control it. Elliot took a shaky step forward. And if I don't want you to control it? Rowan's eyes widened. Human again. Vulnerable. Elliot, you don't know what you're saying. This life fight's dangerous. I'm dangerous. The confession hung between them, heavy as the moon above. Elliot's mind raced with questions, but his heart was louder, pulling him toward Rowan despite the impossibility of it all. He reached out, touching Rowan's trembling hand. The contact was electric, grounding them both. I'm not afraid. Elliot lied, his voice steady. But you owe me the truth. All of it. Rowan nodded, his shoulders slumping. He told Elliot everything. How his family had fled their pack in Montana after a violent schism. How he'd been hiding his nature since he was a teenager. How the bracelets were woven with his own hair, infused with pack magic to protect Elliot from other wolves. There's a rogue pack nearby, Rowan admitted. They've been watching me. Watching us. The bracelets keep them at bay, but they're getting bolder. Elliot's stomach dropped. So I'm. What? Your human shield. No, Rowan said fiercely. You're everything. I'd die before I let them touch you. The words hit Elliot like a tidal wave. He'd spent months running from love, from trust, after his ex had shattered his heart. But Rowan wild. Dangerous Rowan was offering something raw and real, even if it came with claws and moonlight. The next week was a blur of tension and tenderness. Rowan taught Elliot about his world, the pack dynamics, the lunar cycles, the way his heart raced every time Elliot smiled. They spent evenings in Rowan's backyard, sharing stories under the fairy lights, their hands brushing as they passed a bowl of campfire stew. Each touch felt like a promise, each glance a confession. But danger loomed. The road pack left signs, claw marks on trees, dead rabbits on Elliot's porch. Rowan grew more protective, his eyes scanning the shadows. One night, Marisol called, frantic. "El, there's a guy at the coffee shop asking about you and Rowan. He's creepy. Like serial killer creepy." Elliot's blood ran cold. What did he look like? Tall, scarred face, yellow eyes. Said his name was Gideon. Rowan, overhearing, went rigid. "Gideon's the rogue alpha. He's coming for me. And now, for you." The confrontation came on the next full moon. Elliot woke to shattering glass and a guttural snarl. He stumbled downstairs to find Rowan in his living room, grappling with a massive wolf with yellow eyes. Gideon. Furniture splintered as they fought. Rowan's human form shifting mid-strike into something fiercer, more primal. "Elliot, run!" Rowan roared. But Elliot grabbed a kitchen knife, his hands shaking. He wasn't a fighter, but he wasn't leaving Rowan. Gideon lunged, claws raking Rowan's side. Blood sprayed, and Rowan howled, a sound that broke Elliot's heart. Without thinking, Elliot threw the knife, catching Gideon in the shoulder. The wolf snarled, distracted just long enough for Rowan to tackle him, pinning him to the floor. "Leave him alone," Rowan growled, his voice a mix of man and beast. Gideon laughed, a chilling sound. "You can't protect him forever, pup. He's marked. He's ours." Rowan's eyes blazed. "He's mine." The fight spilled into the backyard, moonlight illuminating the chaos. Neighbors' lights flicked on, but no one dared approach. Elliot followed, heart in his throat, as Rowan and Gideon clashed, fur and blood flying. Finally, Rowan landed a brutal blow, sending Gideon limping into the woods. Defeated but not dead, Rowan collapsed, bloodied and panting, his body reverting to human form. Elliot knelt beside him, tearing his shirt to bind Rowan's wounds. "You idiot," Elliot choked out, tears burning his eyes. "You could have died." Rowan's hand found his, weak but warm. "Worth it, if you're safe." Elliot leaned down, pressing his forehead to Rowan's. "Don't you dare leave me," he whispered. "Not after all this." Rowan's smile was faint but real. "Never." Months later, the rogue pack was gone, driven off by Rowan's warnings and the strength of his claim on Elliot. The bracelets still adorned Elliot's wrist, a quiet reminder of the bond they'd forged through blood and moonlight. They rebuilt the broken parts of Elliot's house together, laughing over paint rollers and shared secrets. One evening, under a new moon, they sat on their favorite bench in Rowan's backyard, the fairy lights casting a soft glow. Rowan wove a new bracelet. This one different two threads. One dark, one silver, intertwined. "This one's not for protection," he said, tying it around Elliot's wrist. "It's for us." Elliot's heart swelled. He leaned in, kissing Rowan softly, the world fading to just them and the quiet night. They weren't perfect. Rowan still howled at the moon, and Elliot still jumped at shadows, but they were theirs. A love carved from courage and trust. And as the stars blinked above, Elliot knew one thing for certain, werewolf or not, Rowan was his home.